Cool. The recording has started, so it's over to you, Jens. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Bea, for the nice introduction. And yeah, thanks for having me. Actually, it's a pleasure and honor to be here today. And yeah, my topic is the role of the PMO in a hybrid delivery landscape. And yeah, it was roughly 3 years ago, actually. I was in a recruiting process for my current role, actually. And I should build up a project management and PMO office. And during the recruiting process, my new boss told me that they are currently starting a scaled agile transformation project and program. And I was like wondering, but do you really need a PMO? Because I currently running a huge transformation program implementing scaled agile, and we don't have projects actually on our map. And she was very sure and said, yes, yeah, we will have a lot of projects running, and we need you to build up the PMO, right? And since then, actually, I have the topic of today in my head. What would be actually the role of the PMO in a hybrid delivery landscape, right? So welcome to this session today. I hope you enjoy your lunch, as is lunch and learn. Lean back, and I really hope that every one of you get some inspiration and get at least one point with you today, which is of some value for you guys. We start a little bit about me. Bea introduced me. She said seasoned. That is very nice, Bea, that she didn't say old, because I'm actually more than 25 years actually in the industry of projects and project management. I got an opportunity in 2018 to get into the PMO world, and that was actually in Swedish you call it vattendela, some decisive point for my career. It was super interesting, and since then. Actually, I'm also in the PMO domain. I have led 2 PMOs now, currently in my second one, and it's IT PMOs. I think that's an important point to have that in mind when we go through the presentation today. There are different PMO types, and this is an IT PMO I will talk about if I talk about my setup, which I'll do a little bit. I also have led a scaled agile transformation, and I'm participate heavily in leading roles in one. So yeah, that's also where my experience come from when we talk hybrid. A couple of certifications, of course, the PMP, PMA PMP, I assume a couple of you have the same. The HAPP is not that known. It's the Agile Hybrid. It's a micro certification, which was actually quite interesting a couple of years ago. And then on the more agile side, Scrum Master, Safe Agilist, and I have a more advanced program consultant, actually, a Safe Scaled Agile Framework certification, which is expired as I'm not practicing it really, but it gave a lot knowledge, I would say. I like lean agile mindset. I like development teams. I like developing individuals, like working together, really collaborative environments, and also be adaptive and flexible. Have a plan, but change it. That's what I want. And yeah, the roles you see, and Bea was in there. Currently, I'm holding a project portfolio management office lead at the group IT department, the Swedish defense company. And I'm quite active at PMI as a board member, local network lead, and I'm also part of a PMO network, which is super interesting. We have once every 2 months meeting other PMO leaders. Yeah, so I brought with me today the following agenda. I broke it down in 5 parts. First, we're setting the scene a little bit, so we're on the same page. What do we mean project-based, scaled, agile, hybrid? And I also wanted to make it a little bit concrete for you guys, so I have 2 examples. Otherwise, it gets too theoretical, I think. Then we talk a little bit about the challenge for organization in a hybrid delivery landscape. I will not dig in too deep because that itself is a topic for hours to discuss. Then we're talking about the bridging the gap. Also, they're not too detailed about what the organization can do, more to our main topic, what is the role of the PMO in that context, and how can the PMO integrate different concepts and mindsets, and how to position. And also I will there a little bit more concrete regarding example. And then, yeah, a little bit outlook, how can you future-proof your PMO? A little bit what I think PMI thinks, and I think a little bit what are the key competences and capabilities you need. and also talk a little bit slightly about my PMO setup to also make it concrete, and then we summarize. I hope there's something for you in there. We go ahead, setting the scene. So here, hybrid delivery landscape. It's becoming more and more relevant. It's standard more and more. But first of all, what is hybrid? Everyone talks about hybrid. Hybrid usually is something about you crossing two different things and you're getting something new, right? In the animal world, you have that a zebra and a horse. You can cross them. It's not a zebra, it's not a horse. It's still an animal. It looks like both of them, but a different type. In context of this presentation, there are two aspects actually. The first aspect is we're talking hybrid, we meaning predictive concepts, also called often as traditional or waterfall, which is a very negative flavor, or you have it more agile, adaptive, right? Agile usually is linked to very positive, which I'm a little bit against, but that's one aspect of thinking of it. And the other one is even more important for us. It's hybrid in the sense of you're mixing in your organization project-based delivery and product-centric delivery, which I think is actually the interesting topic. It's not so much to talk about predictive and agile, it's about talking these setups. And that also will be like a red thread through the presentation. There have been some research and some thought leadership actually from PMI and others. So hybrid management frameworks getting more and more ground. They are fit for purpose. Companies are looking into these on standards and then doing something for themselves and combining predictive and agile practice. PMI has highlighted that in Pulse of the Profession. I can recommend that one to read. They're becoming a little bit the next management trends. They said 2024, right? Now we're in 2025. I think it is very, very relevant already in that one. There was some other interesting topic. When scaled agile implementation started, I don't know, 10 years ago, other industries 5 years ago. In Sweden, there was Volvo Cars. They were one of the forerunners. And they went full in, and everybody were looking at them in Sweden and said, if they can do it, we can do it. And when all the companies were in the middle, then Volvo came out and said, yeah, we're not sure about that. We want to be more pragmatic now, and they said. So they were actually not fully rolling it out. They have some parts of the organization, but they said we need to have more control, predictability. So they're also in some kind of hybrid now, which is super interesting. Then I found the recent State of Agile report, the 18th one that is published this year. And they also see, they highlight that their respondents say 70% of organizations using actually hybrid or homegrown. So it is actually very much applied, right? And also here's some research from PMI, same report, where you can see over the years, this one of the predictive goes down when you use it. Even agile went up, but it went down, and hybrid catching up, right? And I have other charts where that is even more current. So it's here. But let's quickly remind us what is project-based and what is product-centric or scaled agile, just so we are on the same page. I assume more or most of you know that, but I think it's good to have a reminder. So project is a temporary initiative. That's extremely important in the presentation now. You assemble your project team, you do a in a unique context, you produce a product and service, and you create value. PMI has recently published their 8th edition, and it's super interesting because they have changed the definition. It's a separate topic. I will not go into that, but you can read on LinkedIn or other social medias or YouTube people having an opinion about that one. Project can be predictive and adaptive. It can apply agile practices, right? But it's still a project. PMI also has in the recent book here, you see, put in this graph from predictive to adaptive, and you go increasingly iterative, incremental, and they put the hybrid in between. You can discuss that one, but it's here. So, but it's still some kind of project in this context. Usually do it to produce modified new products or services, or building a production line, or building, or whatever. Also, very important characteristic is the stage gate model if you're running projects to govern the projects. So just to have that in mind when we go to the examples later. What is the PMO role in this kind of setup? Usually it's a traditional PMO, operational level. You're looking on the processes, you're supporting the the project teams, you look at the people following the process and standards, and you really make sure that you get some kind of efficiency in the delivery, right? But there, of course, are other parts, tactical, strategic level. There's a lot of talk recently about PMOs need to be on the strategic level. And I can recommend the book from PMI, PMO Practice Guide. Actually, they mention more than 20 different PMO types. So I have the IT PMO type. So I'm one of these 20 maybe, right? And then on the right side, you see a typical project-based setup, which is important to have in mind when we talk hybrid projects, programs, portfolio, delivering products or changing products. Scaled agile delivery. All of you have heard about the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. I will not go into that, but it talked about it was actually to get a it was actually that was the point. It was actually supposed to be for teams, right? Software development teams, customer over processes, getting the feedback loop in, be pragmatic, etc. And yeah, that was always 25, 24 years ago, right? And then Scaled Agile came a little bit later. But what you actually want to do in Scaled Agile is you want to have that benefit from the team level up on the enterprise level. You want to scale up the Agile part, which comes with quite some governance and management, right? Interesting wise, even these frameworks are often called Scaled Agile or Agile. They're having a lot of lean, flow thinking, development operations, DevOps concepts, system thinking. There's a lot of other stuff actually in there, not just agile. And they usually have a multi-level structure. As you're scaling up, you need several levels, right? And the idea actually is if you're doing scaled agile, is coming away from the project base to a product centric. I can recommend that book if you haven't, if you don't know that. Mick Kirsten has developed a flow framework, and he has actually concrete examples. BMW, for example, he was visiting and talk about that. We really go away from projects and have a product-centric development, getting in your flow and then delivery value very quickly out. The latter frameworks appeared 2010 and forward. Even PMI now in the PIM book, the latest have put them up. You have SAFE up here, and that was really the one I will talk a little bit about. And on this graph, you see depth of guidance because they have a lot of redundant guidance in their framework. And here's the span of the life cycle, right? You have lean here. You have less here also as a method or the framework. And then what's a PMO in that area? And actually, there is no traditional PMO usually in these frameworks, yeah, because you're not doing projects. But you are on a portfolio level still. You can have that. And SAFE has a value management office, also some kind of PMO, P without projects, V for value. And then you have, for example, Lean Agile Center of Excellence for the ways of working. I will introduce you quickly to the SAFE picture if you haven't seen it. I hope you still hear me because my connection says I'm a little bit low, but I keep continuing. So you see the big picture of SAFE here. If you draw three lines, actually you can have three layers in that picture. If you draw a line here, below here you have the team level. This is where very much companies they applying SAFE. They're starting here and they're somehow successful, right? So you have a backlog of a art in the sense agile release train, and you bundle a couple of teams, have the backlog prioritizing the work. You have your agile teams, you have product owners, you have scrum masters, team coaches, you have team backlogs, and then you come in something that's very typical for SAFE is you have the PI or the product program increment, which usually for most companies is roughly around 3 months of a cycle, and then you come back. And here you break down the features in stories, enablers, you do demos to get the feedback, you release on demand, and then at the end you do a retro and start them again. And then by this, you would like to get a flow, right? A flow in the organization, lean topic and term, right? Get a flow in. So it's quicker than today with projects, because projects can take time, and we know the statistics. A lot of projects might fail. What the evangelist of Save and Scale Agile, of course, tell us, right? So this is the team level. Then in the middle, above that line, you can draw another line, and then you have the middle layer, which I would call some kind of delivery management or governance. In the sense, you have really agile release trains, you have some kind of product management, doing tactical decisions, architectures, and facilitators, and the business owners here. And you need that if you're scaling up, you need that management level there in between. Otherwise, it will be difficult, right? And then above the second line, you have the portfolio part, portfolio backlog, strategy, linking to the enterprise. You have epics. And then you have the value stream thinking, the value, very delivering value. And based on that, you prioritize, and then you break down your organization actually in the work. Keep that in mind, because there was a theory now for a couple of minutes, project-based and scale agile. I think we do an example. So if you think about the three layers here, delivery team layer, the delivery coordination management layer, and the portfolio governance. I show you two examples how hybrid looks like actually. So example first is a vertical integration. So we have a demand intake here where you decide, okay, planning your work, whatever you have, projects, initiatives, epics. And then you have, we're lucky here to implement your scaled agile part in a department or in a value stream or product area. Value stream could be procure to pay for a manufacturing company, or lending a loan for a financial industry, right? And then you manage to organize yourself and the work around that. You might have release trains, as we saw before, and you have your agile teams, and you have your iterations here, and you get a flow into that part. Important is usually have fixed capacity in that part. Huge distinguisher between a project and a scale agile setup. But then, of course, you were lucky to implement one part of the organization. You still have projects you're running, right? So some of the work will go to projects. You have your typical projects, temporary endeavors, as we know. You have a line organizational pools with resources. You pull in the resources temporarily and then release them. And you have a stage gate model, right? So that is one example that I have seen also. It's quite typical, I would say. Then you have another example where you have, we're lucky to implement it on a lower level, on the team level, but broadly, right? So all your teams are somehow agile teams. So you still have a demand intake, and here it's more difficult to decide, okay, can we put that in the backlog? Is it product related? Is there a team or two teams they can take care of? Or do we need an initiative or project, right? That's a tricky thing to discuss here. But then you still might have projects. These projects now, they don't have resources in the sense, because all the resources are sitting in the delivery teams. Still have your cadence here to plan the work for the agile delivery teams. And here the project manager sitting together with product managers and team coaches to plan the work ahead. And you're steering on this part more on a milestone dependency level, right? You even don't know even which resources might be in your project if you don't have a pinpointed. And you're sending down work packages instead of asking for resources, and you get back the delivery. That is also an example, right? And then you might have a resource capacity management on an overall level, because that is a little bit tricky here, having that as a resource capacity, planning that, how much capacity you need, where are the people spending the time compared to here where it's more distinguished. Yeah, so there's one example or two examples. What is the challenge then in this setup? So first of all, why did we get there actually? Because the companies, they wanted to have faster and cheaper outcomes, right? And they want to have flexibility. That's what we're relating actually to Agile. It's cheaper, better, faster. I can change things, right? That's what we wanted, right? And a lot of companies have tried. Some have succeeded depending on the concepts they have applied, depending on the business area, type of organization, how the organization wanted to adapt. But some are stuck in the middle, right? I say, is I have either the one thing nor the other thing. And in this nice report here, it's stated that only 13% have fully embedded agile across their business, but 70% have anyway some adoption in departments, on team level, as we saw before, or IT only. IT only is also something, of course. Yeah. So feels a little bit like that, right? You see here, project-based. The scaled agile folks have told us that this side is not good. It costs a lot of money. The projects don't get any delivery out. It takes a long time. We want to be here. But you are somewhere stuck in the middle. What does that mean? Yeah, that means you have maybe confusion in the organization. You have misaligned cadence. I thought there's a PI planning 3 months, and the project say, "But well, I have a deadline in 4 weeks. You can't sit there and plan your 3 months. I need to. When do I get my delivery? Right? You have dual governance, deciding. You have resource conflicts, as I just said. Is everything really stringent? Release train with the projects? Isn't there something they had to drag people over? Conflict metrics. Yeah, and the scale agile, you very much focus on velocity, value, etc. Right? In the traditional project-based, you're focusing on time, cost, scope. Right? Unclear accountability, project manager versus product manager, team coach, who makes a decision in the backlog, which is actually prioritized, for example, prioritization issues, and then the management. Right? I think a lot of companies said, we want to go here, but we still want to have the control. I still want to have reports. How is it actually going? But in the agile world, you say, I want empowerment. You want to have the responsibility down in the organization. So that's an issue. You might have a fragmented demand intake, things coming in from the side, right? The business or the requester said, oh, I know the product manager, and I just send the request there. I don't go via demand intake or something. You might get in difficulties achieving really the flow if you have projects and product centrics. Is it really a flow we're achieving? Could get some inefficiency, and there's dependency between the team that might not be coming up to the surface actually. And the culture gap is a huge topic. I think it sometimes gets very religious in the discussion between the scaled agile and the project based. Yeah, so that sounds very negative, right? I will not go into how you solve it, but there is actually light in the tunnel, because there's another word out there. Agile is getting unattractive. It's more agility. So isn't that what the companies wanted, more agility? All right. And again, PMI, they have a nice report about enterprise agility. I can strongly recommend that one. PMI actually is working on a manifesto for enterprise agility, as I heard. I'm very curious to see what that will bring. So having the Agile manifesto and something similar on the enterprise group, because I think that's what's needed. Right. So here's Jim Highsmith. I quote him, or they quote, and I quote him, Agile thought leader and co-author of the Agile manifesto, saying agility isn't a silver bullet. It's not easy. But what is it actually? Yeah, it's the ability to both create and respond to change in order to profit in a turbulent business environment. And that's it. It's quite turbulent dynamic at the moment, right? So you need some kind of control, but you need to have flexibility. And that, I like that statement. Agility is the ability to balance flexibility and stability. And I realize also in my current, that's actually, you need this mix at the moment, right? So fun fact now, I think it sounds a little bit like hybrid. You want flexibility, but you want stability. Yeah, they are a little bit contradictional, right? So you need something in between. So maybe the hybrid landscape is not that bad. Right? You can have both. You can have project-based and scaled agile, and you mix something that fits your purpose and your context. It's not an easy way, but it's probably the answer currently. And if you look to other research, again, PMI, I put that out for the IT industry. That's because where I'm working a little bit more. but they have it for different industries, manufacturing, healthcare. I think you can find probably something for you. And there you see, okay, what ways of working are you using? And then Agile is 55. Even the IT is only 55, I think. It's still a lot of predictive, but the majority is actually hybrid. I thought that's super interesting, actually. And you see it also in other industry. Hybrid is getting more and more the common set of work. So there was a challenge. How do we bridging the gap now? And again, I don't have the blueprint how you fix it. I will talk about the PMO in this context now. So the PMO actually, to bridging the gap, you need to align the processes, the governance, the tools, the roles, the measurement, and the mindset, right, to be successful. So if you think about a scale like this, and on the left side, we have the traditional predictive approaches of world, project-based, and here you have the scaled agile adaptive approaches, right? Two extremes, right? What does it mean actually if you, that would mean here you're more project-based, I talked about, here you're more product service-based, you think in value streams. On this side, you have projects, initiatives, here you have the agile concepts, development streams. Here on the left side, project process, stage gate model. On the right side, increments, iterations, DevOps from a process perspective. Roles, you have project managers, some call them initiative drivers, capability drivers, I have heard. You have project sponsors, steering groups, but here you have product owners, team coaches, business owners. Tools, different tools actually. On the left side, you usually have a project management portfolio tool. On the right side, you have these Azure DevOps, Jira, whatever, agile tools. You have different type of reporting. What management is requiring here. You have time, cost, scope, quality, resources, milestones. On the right side, you talk about increments. How's my increment going? How's the velocity? How are the lead times? What is the value? You do demos in reporting, actually. I think it's some kind of a reporting part too. And then the mindset, as I said, you have the controlling, predictive. You need certainty, right? But on the right side, trust, adaptive, supportive, coaching, empowerment. I need to bridge that. So the companies that are in a hybrid delivery landscape, they are here in the middle. They have to bridge this. My experience is on the right side, you have usually a role called agile coaches, right? And I have been not being a coach, but when I did the program consultant, the certification, that's actually where you get trained and educated for that part here, right? But in this role, you actually have difficulties moving into the middle. That's my experience. You stay in your corner here. It's very difficult. The PMO instead, I think they have the capability because as a PMO, of course, it's project-based, but at the end, it's about delivery. It doesn't matter if it's actually a project. You have a little bit open mindset, then it doesn't matter if it's a project or not. You need, of course, control, but you can change the mindset. You have the tool, the process, you have all the competences you need. If you open up, the PMO can be the integrator between these two worlds together with the agile coaches. I think that's it. That is my statement. I will dig more detailed in there, but that is one important point, right? So how do you do that actually? Yeah, because you have the knowledge, the PMO can have the knowledge, experience. What you need people with various delivery models. I've worked in project management, I've worked in the agile world. You can get in maybe coach part in your PMO, and you can connect both worlds, right? Finding the right balance. You can coach the different roles. Doesn't need to be just project managers. Could be product managers. Probably even go down to team coaches. Even the agile coaches are there. You can help them, right? If you work together in a hybrid world, everyone needs to understand the other part. The tooling part you can get into. Conflict resolution is a huge topic actually in a PMO, complex problem solving. You can set some structure for the whole part. Right? If you're not implementing the scaled agile, what are you doing? Yeah, you have to think broad. So have a unified portfolio view, giving guidance on the delivery. What kind of delivery are we choosing? What would make sense? You could be very strong in dependency management. That's a super important topic. And resource management, how to allocate resources. A little bit classical, but of course, it's another ball game if you have a hybrid landscape. but the PMO can manage that one, right? And then building the culture, not sitting in your processes, thinking positive, coaching people, building community, sharing knowledge, what's working, and together with others actually shaping the ways of working, right? So driving ways of working all the way forward, not stick with your project processes. Think of other ways of working. Change demand intake if it's needed, change portfolio management, come up with new operating models. And I think I like this one here because that is also my takeaway, that you need to find a coalition of change partners. It's not just black and white out there. Yeah, so there was a rough summary on that one. Yeah, and the PMO can be the guide and the service partner in that type of delivery, where it's not black and white, as I said. Right? So again, a little bit concrete. How would that, if we had the example from before, how would that apply actually? How it sounds very nice, Jens, with all these buzzwords, but how would it work? So again, this example here, where we had the agile delivery teams down here, demand intake, portfolio management, resource, financial steering, stage gate models, and then we had these kind of work packages instead of resources, right? My colleagues, the agile coaches, they're sitting here on the agile team level and they're facilitating these incremental and these scaled agile concepts, right? But the PMO is sitting all around here. So you have an interface between the two above layers and the team layer, working closely together here, coaching the initiative drivers in the agile ways of working, or the project managers, getting feedback, retros down from these here, feeding it upwards. You're sitting up here in the demand intake, deciding actually where the work should go, what type of work is it actually. Getting on the portfolio management part. The financial steering actually is a super important topic that is often forgotten in the scale agile. They're not talking about financial steering often. A little bit of the lean portfolio management and budgeting there it's somehow in, but in the reality, this is an important topic in your company, always following the cost. And the PMO can play a huge role with the finance department here, getting that up and running. And then you have the resource management. And then, yeah, having control, still more classical control of the stage gate model. You still have things you have to adhere to. And then coaching the project managers and the project teams down here. So you're quite widespread around the organization. And as a PMO, that could be a service offering here. So that is my PMO here, 60 services we have in 9 service groups. So we have a lot around assurance, starting up, helping projects. We even have health checks, for example, if something is not going very well. A huge bunch about method, ways of working, knowledge management, the classical project portfolio, but also we are in the product and service portfolio management, because these two are interlinked if you think here. You can't distinguish them too much. Resource management, communication, the tooling part, performance management, and I put in the finance here, as I said, that is a super important topic on the finance part. And then you have a quite broad scope helping the organization in a hybrid delivery landscape. So that was example. I would like to dig more into detail, but of course we only have an hour for lunch and learn. So when you look a bit forward, what would be a PMO from now in this, when hybrid getting more and more the common standards? Where should your PMO be? And I have 5 areas that I think currently, from my perspective, are very important as a PMO to have on your agenda, in your team, and developing. And one is to be very adaptive at the moment, as I said, turbulent, dynamic. So you always have to really, really be close to your stake, listen to the needs of an organization. It's so quick at the moment, things are changing. And at the same time, you have to continuously review what you are offering as a PMO. What has been very valid 2 months ago could be totally worthless at this moment. There's a new person in town on the management level, things shifting. You could say that has been there before, but my perception, if I look 10 years back, it's much more dynamic now. So this is super important as also, when I started with the PMO 2018, I was planning actually a 2 years roadmap. I was planning for plateau in 1 year, breathing out, look how we do next. I think that is gone. I haven't seen that. I try to do 1 year roadmap. We are at 3 months, maximum 6 months at the moment, what we can do as changing ways of working or whatever, because it's too dynamic, right? This one is important. Data-driven, data analytics. The world getting more and more, it's getting more and more complex. You have a lot of data, actually. As I said, the PMOs overall in the example. So you have all the data on the delivery, on the financials, on the resources. If you analytics skill, you can use that and you can help management making the right decisions, right? And you need to have the tooling. I think that is a critical point. There's not many others. I think there's none other in the organization actually that have that access to the data, and then if you build up the capability, is a unique selling point for a PMO. You need to be very much thinking value, a little bit away from the processes and frameworks. Think about what makes sense for the organization, getting out the value of the delivery, but also for your PMO. If it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't deliver value, don't do it. Right? I will come to that later, how we do that a little bit, a sentence, and then also understand value metrics. PMO is very much in this, as I said before, time, cost, performance report in the sense of traffic lights or so. Yeah, you have to get into this value, measuring the value. The coaching part I have seen is an important point. Getting away from the commodity that you know all the process steps in the stage gate model, listening to the project managers, helping them, helping the product managers, helping the management, understanding usually it's complex, right? And if you have all the competence about predictive, hybrid, agile in your team, you actually can have that as a unique selling point also from a PMO perspective. Complex problem solving, I think, is a competence. Pedagogical skill, that's a lot. Hybrid is a little more complex than others, so you need to really communicate about what makes sense, where are we at the moment, if you do this, how impact does that have here? I think that's important, and be very pragmatic also. And then this comes in strategic thinking, understanding where your organization is heading. So you have to get a little bit out of your project box, what's happening in general, and link strategy to execution. It's, I think, huge. Every management wants to see, okay, are we actually delivering what we put in our strategy? And then have the business acumen, understanding your organization part, right? This is my 5 topics here, and Team I has a little bit the same view, I would say here, 24 PMO that serve companies best, adapt to evolve with the needs of the organization, right? That's it. That's up here. And they have to demonstrate the value. That's up here. You have really saying that what you're doing. Good. Time is flying. I'm coming to the end. I think it's 2 slides left. This is a PMO in a hybrid delivery landscape. It's currently my PMO. I've built it up. So we have the coaching part here with 2 very experienced PMO professionals. One also have an agile background as an agile coach. So we have that covering actually all ways of working, all delivery models in here. We have the analysts on the portfolio operations part here, and also on the product and service portfolio. We're getting the numbers in, setting the data structure, the quality, crunching the numbers, producing the reports, guiding, not just reporting, guiding and recommending what to do actually. We have the tooling part here, and then you have the resource management and the finance and process part. And then with this, actually, you have quite a comprehensive view. And I think about the team now, I think we have a unique position in the company, actually, because everything is interlinked. Resources with finance, with the projects, with the portfolio. And if you have everything in one team, it's actually quite nice, I would say. 1 minute on what we're doing else, a little bit away from the hybrid, but what else is actually in this PMO setup? Because I think you have to run a little bit like a business. So what we do actually, we have a vision where we want to be. Even I don't have that 2 years roadmap, but what would be a stage in the future? We have the mission, which is a mandate. I think we have 8, 9 topics on that one. What we are doing on a daily basis. We still have the roadmap. Even I said it's quite agile roadmap on the sense 3 to 6 months. But it's very important for us for planning and also communicating out what we are doing. We have a service catalog. I think that is a really super important part that helps us really for the roadmap, but also mission vision. What is our scope? Where are our priorities? Where are we delivering value and where not? So we're reviewing that on a 6 month basis and taking things out and editing things. So I can recommend having that one. Role descriptions. The organizational context map is important because, as I said, it's very dynamic. So you need all the time to know where are things happening in your organization and where is the PMO linked to this part of the organization. There might be other transformational initiatives ongoing. There might be a new organizations building up, and you need to know how you interact or relate to them. Stakeholders, super important. Knowledge repository we have. And community building, I think, is important in that complex world. That you're facilitating and driving a community around the ways of working together with others. Yes, last slide, and I think I'm good in time. So the statement is, even a lot of, I've talked about scaled agile. This is the way to go in the future. There were no projects, PMOs only on a portfolio level. We see it looks a little bit different. So PMO is not obsolete. I think they're more relevant than before in a hybrid to make that successful. Hybrid environments will be more and more common, as we see. The PMO can be the glue, the integrator between these various ways of working, right? With the right mindset to ensure that the companies are delivering successfully. The data-driven is important. We can be the single source of this data-driven part, right? Management is requiring that one can make sound decisions and helping them, guiding in that dynamic, turbulent world. PMO can be the driving force, driving changes. You need this coalition of change, I would say, super important. Don't get into religious discussions. Find the persons who work with ways of working, operating model, and bring the forces together, right? I mentioned recently about the critical capabilities. I think coaching is a super important one, the data analytics and the strategic thinking part to stay relevant, actually. Focus on lean and value and flow in the delivery, right? Don't be stuck in your project. Think what makes sense. Can we create a release time somewhere or flow? Then let's do that, right? If project is the way and the answer, then let's do a project. Yeah, and the PMO needs to really adapt and evolve to be relevant. In 2022, I found this one, which I thought was interesting because it's 3 years ago. And already there, PMO said, the most mature PMOs encourage a learning mindset. That's actually super important. Yeah, that's what I said. Promote a continuous learning culture. Correct. And provide coaching and mentoring. Yes, correct. So I think that aligns very much what they said 3 years ago. I can see that now, 3 years later. So, and then the last statement, actually. We talked a lot about product-based, product-centric frameworks, processes, etc., governance. But my experience is the following. At the end, independent from process and technology, it's very much about the people and the mindset, right? Then you make things rolling and you make the changes and you get things delivered. Yeah, and that's it for me. Actually, thank you very much. I hope you could hear me all the time, Bea.
Yeah, thanks, Jens. There was a short break when you even mentioned that you might have had some connection issues.
Oh,
It was just like 2 seconds. So
okay, cool. Okay,
yeah,
wow.
thank you so much. Before you leave, guys, we don't have a lot of questions, but there will be a poll as well at the end. So we would much appreciate if you can fill that in. There was a comment from Nandor. He was saying maybe we should not mix the agile team coach, scrum master level of acting with the agile enterprise coach. Not sure if you would like to reflect on that, Jens.
I'm not sure if I got that. Don't mix the agile team coach with the enterprise coach. Is that the
The
question?
agile team coach, scrum master with the agile coach. Maybe Nandor, you would like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Nope.
Yeah.
Aha, you want to use his mic. Can you do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. I unmuted you, Nandor, if you would like to.
I see the question to scope. Yeah, so you not mix agile team coach level of acting with the agile. Yeah, I think there's of course there's a different in the agile team coach where you're helping the team and the scrum masters, right? That is one discipline. And then you have the enterprise coaches, which where I refer to my certification, this program consultant. That is where you actually have you're thinking about the whole enterprise or the part of the organization, right? That's a different ball game. So it's two different types of coaches. And maybe he related because I just said agile coaches where I put them up, right? Maybe that really, but it's different. It's different disciplines. That's correct. And we have different type of agile coaches also in our setup, actually, on the team level and then more on the enterprise level. Maybe that answers that question. Um,
Yeah, there is another comment from András. Jens, do you feel there is a bias towards agile when it comes to hybrid?
it's a bias towards agile when it's come to. That's also an interesting question. I think what I realized, what I mentioned, I think it can be very religious, these discussions about agile. This is as I had in the picture, right? This is the bright side that everything is fast and cheap, and then the project world, that's a waterfall, that's expensive, that doesn't deliver anything. And then you might tend again to more implementing the agile. Uh, is it a bias towards agile when it comes to hybrid? I'm not sure about that one, but of course, I think these lean thinking, agile thinking, DevOps thinking, in the scaled agile framework, they really make sense, right? In the context, they really, I think, if you have the context where you can apply that, I think you can apply that. We have in my company also examples. So you have steady teams, you have the same competence, the same inflow, the same type of work. Build a team, build a stream, and run that through, right? You don't need to have a project. But I'm not sure if I answered that question correctly there, but yeah.
For me, it seems like in a hybrid is a mixture of agile and
Mm.
waterfall, obviously. So, do you think if there is anything like either agile or predictive is more in the scale in the hybrid? You know,
Yeah, I'm not sure about. I think it very much depends on the context where you are.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, no worries. Okay, and we have another comment from Ildiko. I recently learned about some companies dissolving their IT
Mm.
PMOs and reallocating IT PMs to departments or work streams. Does this reflect the belief that the IT PMO no longer adds value, or is there another strategic rationale? What is your experience and view in this respect?
Yeah, and I think it's a very nice question because that you have seen, and there's also this perception that the PMO that usually they survive 2 or 3 years and then they dissolved, right? But I think my take is that every 2 to 3 years actually there is an organization reorganization, and then you also look in all the parts of the organization and the PMO, and if you're not delivering value at that point in time, then you're gone. That's it, right? So that's what I said. You have to be very adaptive and have your organizational context map and your stakeholder say what's happening. So it seems like there was a reorg, and someone said, "No, but we don't need the PMO. It doesn't make value. We just allocate all the project managers out. It will work anyway." I can tell you they probably come back in 2 years' time and will say they need the PMO, but probably in this sense the PMO couldn't show its value actually. That's it. So I think that's what is important, showing the value of your PMO and adapt all the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This started echoing now. So there is another question from Gadeon. I appreciate the examples you gave, very practical and insightful. How much effort or involvement of the top management do you anticipate for their buy-ins and sponsorship?
That's a super interesting question. Yeah. So in any transformation, you need buy-in from your management. And I will not talk detailed of these two topics here, but in general, what I have seen, if you do this kind of transformation, you need a strong buy-in. And I've also seen that you don't have that, and then you fail. right? I also have seen bottom-up transformations and top-down transformation. I think you need to have a top-down transformation for this one when we're talking about that because it's impacting the whole organization. You can't do it. You can't do it bottom up. If you do bottom up, you stick on the team level in some departments, and then you're gone, right? So you need to have the top management really early on the in the transformation, and they actually need to lead the transformation. They need, I think, the sponsors need to be high up on the C level or department level, depending where you are implementing that one. Yeah? Super important. Yes.
Thank you so much. We don't have any more questions in the chat. So I think,
Then if
yeah.
it works, may I add something?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
number. Yeah.
please.
Okay,
Yes,
so I
please do that.
managed to find my mic. So sorry. uh, like your approach, Jens, but I would only add that in my experience, the world is very difficult this time. It has different paths that are easy to understand, that easy to follow, and that are more complicated and more complex. And if you are familiar with the Kinevin framework from Dave Snowden, then you can say the completed, where it's more, you know what you don't know, you can have a plan ahead, and then fulfill the plan with sense. But in the complex world, you have some adaptive, iterative solution. And
Mm.
if the PMO has this understanding, then actually direct the PMO can force, or not force, but that improve the value of hybrid organizations and say, okay, this is a part of the world where we can apply the predictive,
Mm.
so the waterfall method, and then we should use the best practices or the good practices from the project management traditional way. But in the field where it's more complex, and as you said, even your plans is not good enough for a year, we have permanently adapt or roadmap everything because we experience that the world got faster or more complex. I don't know how we describe it, but we feel it. And then the PMO can help with the right approach and right support for the different approaches. So I think there's a very important part of PMO for a larger compensation with different kinds of approaches. So I
Yeah.
like to thank you much.
Thanks, Nando. Yeah, I agree with that one. Yes. It's getting more complex. That more complex means actually adaptive approach is not the wrong way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree that, yeah. And as I said, I learned that myself. The PMO is I'm very adaptive in my PMO. And you can apply to whatever in your company role at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for your comment. Very good.
Welcome. Thank you.
So thanks everyone for participating in today's Lunch and Learn session, and a big thank you to you,
Yeah.
Jens. I
Thanks for
just would
having me.
like to mention that today is International Volunteer Day as well. So yeah, let's celebrate all the volunteers that are giving back their knowledge, their time to you guys. So thanks again, everyone, and give you
Thanks. Bye bye, guys. It was nice to be with you.
anything
Thanks
else?
a lot.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.